Hi guys, what it is your girl Cadillac. I am Cadillac Dixon. I am the Draw My Life prison wife. I'm the legally blind artist that is rapping and painting for justice, hoping to see justice before all fades to black. Yeah, I don't even like that. I don't know what that noise was. Your girl Cadillac. Oh my gosh. So I'm coming through at the end of Sunday, 23rd. Yes. But I did tell you guys that I was going to read this email. Look at my beautiful mommy up there though. Miss you, mom. All her beautiful pictures. She had the most beautiful smile, perfect teeth. Oh my gosh. But anyways, so I'm going to read you guys today the email that I sent to Miss Steinem's office, girl. And the only reason that I am so transparent is because, girl, this struggle is real. And the thing is that I get to release all the things that, I usually have to keep them to myself. As a prison wife, many of your feelings and things you go through, you just got to keep it to yourself, because other people, they just do not understand, girl. Like, this is a different type of life. And then also, when I share, it's a lot of times that you can relate to the things that I go through. Like, I relate to a lot of prison wives, and I thank you guys for sharing your journeys, because they have gotten me through some tough times, because it is hard for other people to kind of relate, so, that is why, and then plus I want y'all to follow me through. Like, y'all done seen me in my darkest. Y'all done seen me when I'm going through it, which is almost every other day. I'm going through it, girl. But I think you guys are actually about to witness a turnaround, like a miracle, like girl, oh my gosh, things in this atmosphere. I told you, Miss Barbara Gaines, Prophetess Barbara Gaines, when she put that post that the chains are broken, I told you, I took that as though she was talking to me. It felt like that was especially for me. And that was last year. And I went out and started buying my man his little, I'm like, so if I'm believing that he's going to come home, if he comes home and they say, come pick him up, what he going to have to wear? What is he going to have? We haven't made any preparations. You know how you believe for something so long, but when it don't happen, you kind of get unprepared. Like, say I was going on a trip and I was packed and ready to go, and I was sitting on the side of the street waiting on you to come get you, girl, and you ain't never showed up. Like, girl, after a while, I'm going to have to start digging through that suitcase. I'm going to have to start using my little toothbrush. I have to use some of my little, whatever. I might have to use a change of clothes out of there. And eventually your girl just going to get unpacked, because I have been waiting forever. And you ain't came. You ain't picked your girl up yet. But let's say you all of a sudden show up. Okay, I done got unpacked, so I'm no longer prepared. So that's why I was like, I need to get back prepared for him to come home, get back in that expecting mind state like I was the first few years of his incarceration, when I just knew it was a matter of time. So, girl, that's why I share this journey. And then also I can look back. Hopefully one day this be way far in my rear view, girl, and I can actually look back and be like, oh my God, where I have been and where I have come from. Yes. So, this is the email, and a lot of the things that my family went through, because of this wrongful conviction, I will cover in full or better detail. Can't be too full. Your girl memory ain't that good. But, I will cover in better detail in my unsung whenever I finish. I'm on part. I still have the parts 1, 2, and 3. They were pretty good. They were not at all scripted. I should have wrote that stuff out. Like, girl, why did I try to wing that off the top of my head? But part 4, still gotta edit it. And then 5, I guess will be more so in this section of what I'm talking about today. So I'm going to go ahead and read this email. I started watching some old interviews with Gloria Steinem. Thank you so much. I wasn't aware at first of who she is, and I clearly should have. I luxuriously live off of the freedom she fought for long before I was even born. That is crazy. She as well now is one of my favorite people and role models. As I watch her interviews, I see some similarities between Miss Steinem. Oh my gosh, I got to get it together. Steinem and myself. I always knew I had a voice, but I didn't quite know how to use it. So I would always use my art to speak for me. My name is Keita Dixon, but I go by Cadillac here. About 2 weeks ago, Miss Blank contacted your office about my husband's story and being wrongfully convicted and excessively sentenced in the state of Florida. My husband was convicted without any fingerprints, DNA, GSR, eyewitnesses, not even the recovery of a G weapon that they charged him with. And because of the weapon enhancements, though there was no weapon found, there wasn't a weapon, he got 4 times more time. They convicted him without evidence. No one was shot, killed, or hurt. In fact, the crimes that my husband is doing 40 years in prison for never even happened. I have great reason to believe the arresting officer in my husband's case falsified the initial police reports. I also have great reason to believe the attorney that was given to my husband, because he was indigenous, posed as though he was fighting for my husband, when in all actuality, he was fighting even harder to ensure my husband's conviction. If he didn't take a plea bargain of 17 years in prison. So the injustice started with the police. His own attorney put the icing on top, and the cherry, well, the judge topped it off when he handed down an illegal sentence and gave him points for priors when my husband had no priors. A year and a half later, the judge that unfairly sentenced my husband moved up to be Supreme Court judge, all of them receiving promotions off my husband's back. In 2001, when I was just 20 years old and my husband was 19, I gave birth to our first and only daughter. 2 months later, my husband accepted a ride home from his cousin, and it resulted in my husband never returning back home to his family. One ride with the wrong person, and overnight my family was ruined. I instantly became a single mother by force, not choice. My husband was taking care of our daughter and was the one paying for her daycare expenses. Needless to say, when he was snatched from our family, I could no longer afford to pay for daycare. I couldn't get benefits either because of the fact that I worked, even though it was at minimum wage. So the only answer was to work overnight, come home, stay with our daughter all day, and with the desire to better myself, attend school during the evenings. During the first few years of our daughter's life, I struggled so bad. I was sleep deprived, overworked, and never could make ends meet. But I never gave up. I knew I had to get my husband real legal representation. With real legal representation, my husband wouldn't have even been convicted in the first place. He was a poor Black man, and we are a young, poor family. We were a young, poor family. I contemplated stripping as a way to raise lawyer money fast. I would never have to look back. I would drive to the strip club but I could never bring myself to go in an audition. I decided to enroll instead in cosmetology courses. A raise in salary could mean our family being able to reunited. After all, our justice system works only if you put money into it. Upon graduating and passing state board after a short-lived cosmetology career, I had to quit due to me developing carpal tunnel and nerve damage in both hands. I returned back to my overnight job and still caring for our daughter alone during the day. Finally, when our daughter was of school age, I was able to get a little rest while she was at school. The only problem was after working the graveyard shift, I would fall deep into sleep and oversleep and leave our daughter at school. I was to the point, it was to the point that the school threatened to put the people on me if I picked our daughter up late once again. I wasn't the bad mother that they thought I was. I was just so stressed out and exhausted from having to play both mother and father roles. I already lost my husband. I couldn't lose our child as well. At that point, I just never slept nonstop, drinking energy drinks. And when I did have to sleep, I would sleep kneel like I'm praying on my couch so that when my knees went to sleep, I would wake up and be able to pick our daughter up. This whole thing also weighed on our daughter as well. I kept her in his life throughout this entire wrongful conviction. I kept our family together through expensive travel and lodging all over the state of Florida, from way up in the panhandle on the Georgia, Florida, Alabama line to way down almost close to Miami, to the east and to the west, Tallahassee to Jacksonville. Also very, very expensive prison calls. So our daughter grew up knowing her father through prison visits only. She would jump at a several-inch thick glass and look like, why won't daddy get me? Her first visit to the county jail was at only months old. To now 20 years old, she is still visiting her father in prison. She is pregnant with our first grandchild, and her father won't return home to us if nobody does anything until her unborn baby is almost 18 years old and grown. Growing up, longing for her father put our daughter through so much stress and depression and anxiety, and it immensely affected her grades. I can't tell you how many times I had to pick her up from school early because the counselors at the school said she was crying uncontrollably, that she misses and just wants her daddy. Due to this injustice, my husband missed everything from our daughter's first step, first words, to kindergarten graduation, to prom, high school graduation, her tech school graduation as a dual enrollment student. All I could do is JPay email him pictures of her big day. And he is scheduled to miss our daughter's college graduation next year after he misses the birth of our first grandchild as well. If you are going to take that much time from somebody, the charges should at least be legit and there be evidence of guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. I also remember one time I picked our daughter up from school with my cousin. As I approached the desk to sign her out, she runs toward us with her friends, telling them, "See, here's my daddy." She was pointing to my cousin, pretending like he was her father. When I asked her, why would she do that? She replied that she didn't want the kids to think she didn't have a father. I also remember the time she came home crying because all the kids were going to the father-daughter dance and she couldn't attend for obvious reasons. Hold on. Okay, not quite sure where I left off. I had to switch rooms. Okay, when I asked her, as I approached the desk to sign her out, she runs toward us with her friends, telling them, "See, here's my daddy." She was pointing to my cousin, pretending like he was her father. When I asked her why would she do that, she replied that she didn't want the kids to think that she didn't have a father. I also remember the time that she came home crying because the kids were going to the father-daughter dance and she could not attend for obvious reasons. As she grew older, she just grew colder, always angry. I was still working overnight and still killing myself to find a way to make it right. After cosmetology didn't work out, I started a rap career as a political rapper. I thought through hip hop music I could achieve one of two things: either gain enough money to finally get that lawyer or to finally get my husband's story out through music. What I didn't know is the music industry is very sexist towards women. I also knew that I had a voice. I just didn't know quite how to use it. So I would always use my artwork to speak for me. I started out trying to tell my husband's story through poetry, and then later it became rap. I was a really good rapper, but because I was female, I didn't get the same treatment as men. Men that couldn't even rap, or if they could, it, it wasn't better than if they couldn't rap better than me. As a female rapper, I had a real story to tell, but they wanted me to talk about sex because sex sells. They wanted me to wear little to no clothing. I was told that they can make any female rap, but it's really about what I look like. I even went to someone's house one time because they told me that they had a studio and I could record my music there, only to enter his apartment and moments later, this huge guy is pinning me down to the bed. It's a shame what women had to go through and still go through quietly. Now, around 2011, I quit the music industry because though people knew me and my music, because I wasn't willing to sleep my way in the industry, the gatekeepers blocked me. I was still working overnight. I worked 11 years on a graveyard shift until I had a slip and fall at my company. Not only did I get permanently injured, that since 2013 has made it almost impossible to work and support our family, the company also fired me. I started working part time at a theme park. I also learned that I was going blind around that time. Despite Despite all of that, I still had the desire to get my family back together again. After seeing my own mother return to school at age 48 and graduate with her master's at age 53, I was motivated to enroll back into college 13 years later after dropping out to raise our daughter alone. After my first semester back in college, my mother died from a botched kidney stone surgery. Another injustice as I watch hospitals, doctors, and nurses do the unthinkable. By this time, our daughter is now in high school. Our daughter always struggled in school until my mother passed. All of a sudden, she brought her grades up, getting on the honor roll for the first time, and then each semester following. She was then accepted into the dual enrollment program as she attended high school and tech school at the same time. She was also inducted into the National Honor Society in her high school and the National Technical Honor Society in her tech school. She graduated with a high GPA and received a scholarship where she enrolled in college with me. My last year in college, our daughter joined me. We were not only college buddies, but we are also mother and daughter. College for me wasn't in no way easy, being that I had the injuries from the slip and fall. I'm also losing my sight. And even though I struggled, I also was inducted into the National Honor Society. I returned to work overnight in the laundry room while I was in college and our daughter was still in high school. Our daughter was in every extracurricular activity you could think of that I had to get her to, as well as my own homework assignments. I still on the weekend traveling across state with visitation for our family time. 2020, I graduated in the middle of a pandemic. I studied 2 degrees over 5 years, graphic design and web design. They had my ceremony this past May, and my husband missed that as well. Last year, my husband spent his 40th birthday still in prison unjustly, also in the hole, 20 years old to 40 years old, wrongfully in Florida DOC. Injustice just seems to just follow our family. Marcello is my husband through mind, body, and spirit, but never by law. I never wanted to marry him behind bars, but the pandemic put into perspective how short life is. So my husband asked for the umpteenth time. I finally said yes. We were approved for marriage and were working out a date to marry with the chaplain when due to my husband writing a grievance on a sergeant's misconduct, the sergeant waited until I came to visitation to retaliate against him. 5 minutes after they searched me and I passed all their security, they let me into visitation to see my husband. They pulled me out of visit and accused me of having substances in my car. Where am I? I feel they were going to plant substances on my car. Girl. Okay. They threatened to take me to jail. What would I look like graduating 1 week, then going to jail the next? They didn't follow their own procedures and gave me no paperwork. What's more, when I called the police to obtain a copy of the CAD report, nobody has a record of any call to any institution for me. The sergeant laughed at me and said, I don't know if you're visiting your husband or your father, but your visitations are revoked indefinitely. And that's all over the state of Florida. And then he laughed at me as I walked away crying. After my family has been through all that we have been through, the only thing we had was visitation. And now that was gone. Feeling like our situation is completely hopeless, I didn't want to waste all the heck that we have been through. I kept telling my husband Marcello's story, though. I started creating a children's book talking about the time our daughter wanted to go to the daddy-daughter dance and how the other students were going, but she couldn't because her father's in prison. I also created Project Reach the World. That's when I get all my hand-painted t-shirts to famous people and all the who's who. And upon finishing school, I'm now trying to launch my own prisoner family magazine called Family United. I attach my mock copy of this to this email I created in hopes that others in this situation that feel unheard. It was looking like Marcello would just have to do the rest of those 20 years. But I didn't want our family struggle to be in vain. I started saying, if I can't help Marcello, maybe I can help someone else. In fact, research that I found, Marcello let a cellmate borrow, and the lawyer took his cellmate's case. All we've been through and never being heard is why it's hard to put in words how much it means to me for people to listen to my story. I tell of Marcello, the wrongfully convicted man in Florida. Thank you. I decided my next project, Reach the World, would be of Miss Gloria Steinem. Thank you and have a great rest of your day. The drama like Prison Wife, the legally blind artist rapping and painting for justice, hoping to see justice before all phase 2 black. Here, it's your girl Cadillac. It's your girl Cadillac.